Okay, I want to try something a little weird to start us off today.
Oh, yeah.
I want you to close your eyes. I mean, obviously, if you are driving, please do not close your eyes.
Right, safety first.
But if you can, just for a second, shut them. And I want you to try and conjure up a memory of, say, your childhood home. Try to see the kitchen.
Okay, yeah.
You can
Verbally picture the
color the counters, right?
Right,
Maybe
okay.
the ugly linoleum floor.
Yep, the yellow wallpaper is crystal clear in my head.
Right. But it's a picture, isn't it?
Eh?
It's kind of like looking at a JPEG in your brain.
It is, yeah, it's flat.
Okay, now switch gears.
Yeah.
Imagine the smell of that kitchen. Maybe when someone was baking, or the smell of the cleaning polish they used.
Oh.
Or even weirder, the smell of the garage.
That is a completely different sensation.
How so?
It's not a picture anymore.
Oh, yeah.
It's heavy, it has weight.
Exactly. If you actually smelled that garage right now, that weird mix of oil and dust and old cardboard, you wouldn't just be remembering it. You would be there. You'd feel the temperature of the air. You'd feel, I don't know, the anxiety of getting in trouble or the excitement of finding some old toy.
It's the difference between looking at a map of a country and suddenly just standing in the middle of the street there.
And that, right there, is what we are diving into today.
The time-traveling nose.
This whole phenomenon where a random whiff of something old sunscreen, a specific brand of pencil shavings, Play-Doh it, just hits you like a freight train and drags you back in time.
It's called olfactory memory, or sometimes the Proustian moment.
Named after Marcel Proust, of course, who famously wrote about dipping a Madeleine cookie into tea and bang, his entire childhood just unlocked in an instant.
A whole world from one little cookie.
But here's the thing that really bothered me when I was looking at the research for this. Why the nose? You know, I have eyes, I have ears, I have hands. Why is my nose the only sense that seems to have a direct hotline to my emotional hard drive?
That's a great question, because logically you'd think vision would be the primary trigger. We're such visual creatures. But the answer is all in the wiring. The sources we have today, from neurobiology papers to evolutionary psychology, they all suggest that your nose has a kind of a VIP entrance to the brain that every other sense is denied.
A VIP entrance. And so my eyes are stuck waiting in line at security, but my nose just walks right past the bouncer.
Essentially, yeah. And to understand why, we have to stop thinking about ourselves as these modern, sophisticated beings with smartphones and all that.
Okay.
We have to look at the deep code of life itself.
Okay, let's unpack that. When you say deep code, are we talking like early humans?
Yeah.
Caveman sniffing the wind for predators?
Much, much further back. We need to go back to the primordial soup.
Oh, the soup. Okay.
Think about the very first life forms, single-celled organisms, bacteria. They didn't have eyes, they didn't have ears.
Nothing to see or hear, really.
Exactly. But they needed to survive. They needed to find food and avoid poison. So how do you do that?
You sense it somehow.
You sense the chemicals around you. You sense the chemical signature of the water you're in. And that ability, that chemoreception, is the absolute precursor to what we call smell. It is the oldest way life interacts with the universe.
So before anything on this planet could see a predator, it could smell it coming.
Precisely. Smell is the OG sense. It's the most primitive, foundational biological tool that we have. By the time eyes and ears evolved, the brain's pathway for smell was already ancient history. It was perfectly paved.
Wow. So it's like smell's the original operating system and vision is just an app we installed later.
That is a perfect analogy. Vision is high bandwidth. It's computationally expensive. It requires a lot of processing power. But smell is deep survival. It's immediate. And because it's so ancient, the actual mechanics of it are incredibly distinct from how we see or hear.
I really want to get into those mechanics because some of the numbers in the source material, they honestly made me stop and reread them. We tend to think of smell as a vibe, right? Like, oh, it smells like rain. But it's not just a feeling. It's a physical invasion.
It is. That's a pretty stark way to put it, but it's accurate. When you smell rain or that bakery, you aren't sensing energy waves like you do with light or sound. No, you are inhaling physical particles, actual tiny little pieces of the thing you're smelling.
That is slightly gross when you think about smelling like a dumpster.
It is a little unfortunate in that context, yes. But physically, volatile molecules are flying off of that object, floating through the air and going right into your nostrils. They travel up to a very specific patch of tissue called the olfactory epithelium.
Which is, according to the notes, surprisingly small.
It is. It's about the size of a postage stamp, and it's sitting way, way up at the bridge of your nose. But don't let the size fool you.
Yeah.
This little stamp is packed with tens of millions of sensory neurons, and at the end of these neurons are tiny hair-like structures, cilia, that are covered in receptors.
So the molecule floats in, it hits these little hairs.
Yeah.
What happens? Is it like a lock and a key?
That's the classic analogy. The molecule is the key. The receptor is the lock. If the key fits, the neuron fires a signal. But here is where the math gets really, really messy and fascinating.
Okay, this is the part I was talking about. The part I found hard to believe. The research says humans have about, 400 to 450 different types of these olfactory receptors? Just 450. That seems really low.
I know.
I mean, I can distinguish between fresh basil, dried basil, pesto, and Thai basil. If I only have 450 keys, how am I unlocking millions or billions of different smells?
That is the combinatorial coding problem. And it's actually brilliant. If it were a strict one-to-one system one receptor for basil, one for coffee, we'd need hundreds of thousands of receptors.
Our heads wouldn't be big enough.
We'd have no room for our brains. So how does the nose cheat the system?
Oh.
Think of a piano. You've only got 88 keys. But you can play Beethoven, you can play jazz, you can play the Beatles. How do you do that?
Chords. You play combinations of keys.
Exactly. One odor molecule might trigger receptor A, receptor F, and receptor Z. Another molecule, a slightly different smell, might trigger receptor A, receptor F, and receptor Y.
Wow.
That tiny change creates a completely different chord that the brain recognizes as a distinct smell.
So coffee isn't a single note. It's a whole symphony of neurons firing in a very specific pattern.
Precisely. And because of this combinatorial system playing chords instead of single notes, scientists estimate that humans can distinguish not just thousands, but potentially 1 trillion distinct odors.
1 trillion. That number just, it breaks my brain. I feel like I only smell maybe 20 things a day, tops.
Well, you consciously notice 20 things, but your brain is constantly processing the background radiation of scent, the ozone from your computer, the dust in the air, the plastic of your desk, the shampoo of the person sitting next to you.
Wow.
It's all being played on that piano, even if you aren't actively listening to the music.
Okay, so the piano is playing. The molecules hit the receptors, the chord is struck. Now that signal goes up the wire. Where does it go? Because this is where the time travel happens, right?
This is the crucial junction. The signal travels from the nose to a structure called the olfactory bulb.
The olfactory bulb.
Think of the bulb as the decoder ring. It takes that raw noise, that chord of receptor A, F, and Z are firing, and it translates it into something you recognize. Ah, that's burnt toast.
So the bulb is the translator.
Yes. But the location of the bulb is the smoking gun for why smell makes us all so emotional.
Okay, lay it on me. Who are the bulb's neighbors?
So the olfactory bulb is located at the very front of the brain, right? But it sends its translated signals directly, and I mean directly, to 2 very specific structures, the amygdala and the hippocampus.
Okay, let's pause and define those for anyone who hasn't taken Psych 101 in a decade.
Of course. So the amygdala is essentially the emotion processor. It's where you feel fear, aggression, pleasure. It's your lizard brain that says run or fight.
Got it. And the hippocampus?
The hippocampus is the librarian. It's responsible for forming, storing, and indexing your memories.
So the smell decoder is physically hardwired to the emotion center and the memory center.
It's practically fused to them. There are only like 2 or 3 synapses separating your nose from your deepest memories and feelings.
But wait, don't my eyes do that too? I mean, if I see a tiger, I get scared. That's the amygdala kicking in, isn't it?
Yes, but the path the signal takes is completely different. And this is the real aha moment of the whole thing.
But
when you see something or hear something or touch something, that signal has to go through a gatekeeper first. It goes to a structure called the thalamus.
the thalamus.
Think of the thalamus as the corporate switchboard, the security desk in the lobby of a giant skyscraper.
Okay, so visual information walks into the lobby.
Right. Your eyes say, hey, I see a shape. The thalamus takes that info, processes it, filters out the junk, figures out where it needs to go, and then it patches it through to the visual cortex for analysis.
It's a relay station.
It's a relay station. It's thinking before feeling.
So there's a delay.
Yeah.
A tiny microscopic processing delay where the brain analyzes the data first.
Exactly. But smell skips the security desk entirely.
It doesn't go to the thalamus.
It does not. It bypasses the switchboard and basically kicks down the door of the CEO's office.
It just barges right in.
It barges right in. The connection from the olfactory bulb to the amygdala and hippocampus is direct. This means you feel the emotional impact of a smell before you even consciously realize what you are smelling.
That actually explains so much. It explains why I can walk into a room, smell a specific cologne, and feel instantly anxious, and it takes me a full second to realize, oh, right, that's the cologne my horrible ex-boss used to wear.
Yes.
The anxiety hit me before the identification did.
Exactly. You reacted to the chemistry before you reacted to the history. The emotion was triggered physically, not intellectually.
Is that a good thing? It sounds a bit like a glitch in the software. Why would we want a sense that can hijack our emotions without our permission?
Go back to the soup. Or go back to the cave. If you smell smoke in the middle of the night, do you want to route that signal through a switchboard, analyze its chemical composition, deduce that smoke often implies fire, and then decide to be afraid?
No, I want to wake up and run immediately.
Speed is survival. If you smell rotting meat, your body needs to recoil in disgust before you even think about taking a bite. These things are too important to be left to the slow, deliberative parts of our brain. They have to be reflexive.
So, we're all walking around with this prehistoric alarm system that just happens to also record the smell of our grandmother's perfume.
That's the beautiful side effect. The system was built for tiger and fire and poison. But because it writes directly to the hippocampus, the memory center, it also accidentally records crayons and rain and fresh cookies with that same emotional intensity.
And because it skips that filter, the thalamus, those memories are more raw.
They're more pristine. Visual memories degrade. Every time you remember a visual scene, you're actually rewriting the file in your brain. You edit it. You change colors. You might insert people who weren't there. Visual memory is notoriously unreliable.
But smell isn't.
Smell seems to remain surprisingly intact. Because we don't recall it as often, we don't overwrite the file, it just sits there in the dark, gathering dust until the exact right key comes along.
And when it unlocks,
You get the raw, unedited data from when you were 5 years old.
this brings up a concept I found fascinating, this idea of the shadow library.
It's a really compelling implication of all this, yeah. We tend to narrate our lives based on what we can consciously recall. I went to this school, I met this person. We tell ourselves a story.
Right, the official biography of me.
But the olfactory research suggests there's a second library. A massive, massive collection of emotional moments and data points that you have absolutely no conscious access to right now. You can't just decide to remember the smell of your kindergarten classroom. You can't summon it.
It's locked.
It's completely locked. And it might stay locked maybe forever unless you happen to stumble across that one specific combination of molecules out in the world again.
That is terrifying and also kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
It means there are parts of my own life that I've lost, but they aren't actually gone.
They're not gone. They're just waiting for the right key.
And sometimes that key is lost to time. I was thinking about discontinued products.
Oh, yeah.
The smell of a specific 1990s lip gloss or the interior of a car model that isn't manufactured anymore. If those molecules cease to exist in the world, that memory might be trapped in your head forever, never triggered again.
That's a heavy thought. It makes you realize how fragile our sense of self actually is. We think we're these solid blocks of history.
But we're actually dependent on the random air around us to tell us who we are.
We are chemically dependent on our environment for our own autobiography. Yeah.
So let's talk practical application. If I'm studying for a test or I want to remember a really specific moment, should I be trying to hack this system? Like smelling peppermint while I study?
There is actually evidence that that works. If you smell a distinct scent while you're learning something new, and then you smell that same scent during the exam, information retrieval is often faster.
You're building a direct bridge to the hippocampus.
You are. You're creating a shortcut.
I feel like I need to start curating the smells of my life better. We take so many photos, but we never think to, keep a vial of the perfume we wore on our wedding day or the smell of the soap from a hotel on a great vacation.
It's true. We're visually obsessed, but we are olfactorily illiterate. We just let those triggers, those keys, fade away.
So let's try and bring this all together. We've gone from single-celled organisms sniffing for food, all the way to the mechanics of these piano chord receptors, to this VIP entrance in the brain that skips the security line.
It's a journey from the very simple to the profoundly complex.
And the big takeaway seems to be that we shouldn't underestimate this sense. It's not just a way to taste food or tell if the milk has gone bad. It's an emotional anchor.
It is the anchor. It is maybe the only sense that connects us directly to our past without the filter of our present logic. It is pure, unfiltered feeling.
I want to leave our listeners with something to chew on, or I guess sniff on, this week. We talked about that shadow library, all the locked rooms in your brain.
The forgotten chapters.
So, as you go about your week, Just pay attention to the random whiffs you get. The stranger on the bus, a construction site, a bakery you walk past. Because statistically, you are walking through invisible clouds of memory triggers every single day.
And you never, ever know which one is going to pull the rug out from under you.
Exactly. You might think you know exactly who you are, but all it takes is one random molecule from 1998 to float past your nose and prove you wrong.
Or at the very least, to remind you of who you used to be.
I love that. Well, I'm going to go find a jar of Play-Doh and see if I can hallucinate being a toddler for a few minutes.
Enjoy the time travel.
Thanks for diving in with us.
A pleasure.
Stay curious, everyone.
And keep breathing.
We'll catch you on the next Deep Dive.